There we go. Okay. So, last time, you guys mostly chit-chatted with each other and some of the NPCs. Wait, Kira, are you here?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, you guys mostly chit-chatted with each other and the NPCs after the come down from the DD fight. But there were some...
kind of the trust of New Girl.
Yeah, you kind of gained the trust of Abigail. She's still very reticent. She feels a kinship with the other witchy-coded people. And she wanted to have more, like, time around them, it would seem. But you also discovered Mr. Talltail, who I need to be very careful because I said his name once already by mistake. And I need to not say his name because he hasn't introduced himself formally.
It's okay.
If it helps, I completely missed it. So he's still Mr. Talltail to me.
That makes me feel a little bit better.
Yeah, see, the thing is like, you say these things, most of the time we don't miss these little tiny minor details, or like we don't hear those, and then you say it, and then we're like, wait a second, what? And then we get curious. Just don't talk about it.
But you guys had a rousing game of like, what the fuck is up with that? Just asking each other questions. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And
Paige made a deal.
Paige made a deal with him in the other room for a bargain for power. And I think that was most of everything.
Yeah, they came back in as the rest of the circle had gone around, more or less.
Yes.
So there would be a moment or two of, like, I think, talking before I think Willow would turn to him and be like, well, now that we've all had our questions, you missed your turn, I think. I would warn you, don't try to ask any questions that were already asked.
I need to think about what questions were asked 2 weeks ago.
You can't ask Hylas what his favorite food is.
Wait, was that asked?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Fuck. Okay, then Mr. Talltail like scratches his chin. He just goes, well, now here's a question for a question. Am I allowed to do that without using up a question?
Aang will nod.
Can I ask what y'all plan to do with her? And he points to Abigail, who at the pointing kind of shirks and shrinks a little bit.
I believe that's largely up to what she thinks needs to be done. She is a person, can have opinions and desires of her own, after all.
She does look up at you, Willow, and just, like, is still very soft and, like, nods. She doesn't say anything, though. To which Mr. Telltale, like, strokes his chin again. Well, given if she's not one for making such choices under duress, what would you plan on doing if she can't make a choice?
Willow just kind of leans back in her chair, and she looks back towards Abigail again, kind of sizing her up. And she tilts her head before she looks very pointedly at Maddie. I believe that is in part something that needs to be discussed as a group. I certainly hope that you're not planning on handing her over, Madigan.
I mean, I'm not going to hand her over to anyone. I'd hope we could go back to Terramarkt.
Pierre, who had just woken up at the end of last session, he leans over to Paige and just goes, "What are we talking about?"
Imagine she just shushes him, makes sure he just fucking stays laying down. It is okay. We are just asking questions to each other. It's okay. Just ask, okay?
He sort of protests, but not for very long, and then he'll lay back down a little bit. He does seem still very sore.
And, well, I guess this is an above-table question, Joe, because this would be something that Paige and Willow and Maddie, at the very least, would be aware of. So I know witches are frowned upon within society.
Uh-huh.
But are there, like, laws and rules and, like, tendencies around them, both, like, within the town? Like, are you required to, like, turn them in? And also, are, like, the hunters, like, required to turn them in or do something?
There's not a hard and fast rule. There's not a law, but the church greatly implores people to report any activity of witchery. And the general vibe in society is that if you are a witch, you're not actually human. That is the biggest suspicion, is like, oh, if you can do magic, you must be masquerading as a human, so you're not actually a human. So you need to be strung up and killed before you go crazy and kill humans. And hunters aren't required to tell anybody, but there is a heavy implication that when a hunter knows about witchcraft, they will tell someone at the church, and the church will take care of it. The church operates with the Inquisition to do the witch finding.
So Willow just kind of keeps staring at Maddie, and her head tilts the opposite direction. She just kind of like waves vaguely around the room. Yes, well, if you go back to Terramarkt, you're subject to Noose's instructions, aren't you? You have 3 witches in a room. What exactly are you planning?
And Maddie, you know that Noose works not very, she's not working closely with, but she works in, like, respectfully with the Inquisition. So Noose would absolutely turn over a witch to the Inquisition.
Okay.
No question.
I'll make a point, like, Willow is not trying to be threatening or judgmental at this point. There is the implication of, like, you are outnumbered here, but she is not, like, accusing Maddie either. She's trying to see how Maddie reacts to the situation as she starts to actually think it through.
Maddie looks to Willow and then kind of looks down at her hand, looking at her claws like, what are you talking about? I don't see any witches.
Hylas, in this moment, goes to point out the witches and then realizes what you're doing and just goes, ah.
You can see Willow's brow go up, and there's a little smirk. And
if you really...
Noose asks you what you've been doing.
Was helping Hawk with something. Besides, it's none of her business.
Aang is watching things go back and forth, and she's puzzled together through this that Noose must be a person. She did not know that. But the way you guys are talking,
Yes.
she's like, oh, I understand. That there was some confusion on her face at first. She looks at Maddie. Madigan, a question for thee. Since I cannot be far from your side, what would this Noose of the Sanghara think?
Now, what's the context of Noose versus fairies, Joe?
Noose would tolerate a fairy
Monster.
about as much. Yeah.
Yeah.
Noose is, for all that you know about Noose is one thing. Noose is a hunter, and Noose like falls very, very much into the category of like people, like she does what she thinks has to be done. She considers it like her duty to hunt monsters, and if you're not human, you're a monster, and there's the only wiggle room is if you're a weirdling. And she likes weirdlings because she considers them to be more human than they are monster. But she fully believes like fairies, monsters. Pixies, monsters. Werewolves, same thing. All of them, lump them all into one category. She falls for the propaganda very, very much.
Werewolves?
All of them. All of them are equally monster to her.
I think Maddie winces a little bit at that thought. It's like, probably not very good. But, that's why we just play you off as a weirdling.
Willow, it's like watching Maddie through this and then turns very pointedly to Aang. Ankarad, I know that you have a thing about people, crowds and such. You do realize how large Termarkt is?
There's a moment where it seems as if she's thinking, and she responds very earnestly, as large as my mother's former kingdom. Is it not?
Larger, I believe.
Larger? And this seems to mystify her a little. Her eyes go a bit wide as she tries to comprehend that. That is possible.
Yeah, yes. Termarkt is smaller than Starwick, so it can be even larger than Termarkt. But, point stands, if you are trying to follow Maddie around, you do realize that if Madigan wants to go back to Termarkt, she looks to Maddie and looks back to Aang. That is more people than you've probably ever seen in your lifetime by 3 or 4 times.
There's a wince from Aang at that, and then a breath, and nothing can be done about it. Trying simply does not enter into the equation. By my word am I bound. I shall have to confront the crowds.
Yet, while I have faith that you'll probably manage to overcome it eventually, she looks to Maddie. We've seen how well that has gone over the first couple of times.
Mm-mm. Well, I mean, what do you think we should do then? You expect me just not to go home?
I didn't say that. I'm simply trying to lay out all the issues that we need to figure out before we make a much further plan. And then
Okay,
she
fair.
pauses and looks very pointedly at Lorelei. And I trust that you're going to keep your mouth shut, little sister.
Lorelei looks at you and raises an eyebrow, and there is like a haughty like, how could you think that of me? Like, you think I would blab about this? And then she looks around the room and sees the kind of tone, and for once she reads the room a little bit and just kind of goes, of course, I wouldn't say a thing.
And this includes
You have my word.
from our brothers.
Oh. And she hesitates for a second and then looks at you, almost like halfway asking, are you serious? And are you sure? Is that okay?
Willow just like stares at her for a moment. Says, I haven't told you anything about what I am capable of. Do you really think I'm going to tell Tristan?
Lorelei kind of looks down for a second, and she does the like nodding shrug of the shoulders and just goes, suppose that makes sense.
And that is why I did not tell you to begin with.
Just because we share two siblings doesn't mean I tell them everything.
Yes, but you shouldn't have to keep secrets that are not your own. But no, you have all of our secrets.
She looks around the room and sees the gravity of the situation. There are some big secrets in this fucking room.
Willow just sighs, kind of leans in her back in her chair again, like crosses her like one leg over the other, and she is considering. Well, Abigail, you're more than welcome if we do head back to Tamalt to stay with my family for a little while, as long as we can keep a little bit of a tight lip about who you are and what you're capable of.
She rubs her arm a little bit and just goes, if you think it's safe.
And Willow nods. Not sure anything is safe these days, considering that we had ghouls attack the city right before we left. But we'll deal with that whenever it comes. And she looks to Aang again. And what is the nature of this agreement between the two of you? She kind of looks over to Maddie. So that we might know exactly what we are dealing with as far as deals go.
Aang looks over to Maddie and then over to Willow. Madigan asked that I not leave her side, and so I shall not. But I would hate to be an inconvenience to her. The matter might be dismissed if she were to dismiss it.
And alternatively, she looks towards Maddie, I assume also renegotiated if needed, yes?
What do you mean renegotiated? And wait, what do you mean? I just didn't want you to stay and, stay away in the Fey realm.
Madigan, thou wert with the Fae speaking, and thou didst ask for a promise.
From behind Aang, you hear like the whistle, like, and then the Mr. Talltail like shakes his head and just goes, well, you did one of the simple mistakes of talking up a Fae and working them into a deal. At least it's not a bad deal by the look of it.
Oh, I didn't mean for that to happen. I just didn't want to lose you.
And thou shalt not. Yet, if the matter causes you distress, Madigan, it may be reconsidered.
Okay, but does it bother you? That's what's more important here.
Nothing that thou couldst ask of me, Madigan, would be a bother to me.
How do we renegotiate?
The agreement, since it is between you two on a purely mechanical level, the agreement can work however the two of you want to work it out.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, if you want to nullify the deal, you can. If you both agree to it, like, you're totally fine to do that.
Aang tilts her head. Did Alexandria teach thee naught about my kind? There's a soft smile of a, come on.
Well, okay, I've never really, done this before. I'm sorry.
Endearing smile continues. The matter may be settled by negotiating in good faith.
Okay, well, if you want out, then you can be out. I'm cool with that.
Aang looks at Maddie, and there's some confusion and conflict. Madigan, we must needs be very precise and direct. Above table, she is saying that, of course, she doesn't want to not be by Maddie. And that is the issue at hand with that phrasing.
Well, I mean, it's not like I don't want you around either. I don't think you should be stuck with me.
Pierre opens up his mouth and just kind of offers up I think what she is trying to say is she does not want you to stay by way of a contract. She wants you to stay if you choose to stay.
Maddie snaps her fingers and points at Pierre. That! Exactly that!
Like, scratches the back of his head like, I'm not good with English, but I read a lot of poetry.
That is very good. Did you have something, Amy?
No, just fucking Paige's dork ass brother, man. I love him.
Well, just like across the room, kind of smirking, just throw in a very quick interaction of, don't let either of my brothers hear you say that. If you ever have a chance to meet them, you'll be eating poetry books for months.
I think he would actually like that, no?
Pierre, like, thinking to himself that mostly just kind of, that sounds wonderful. Why would I not? And he's like pondering, like, why would that be bad? There must be something wrong.
Aang will look over to Pierre with a warm smile, very friendly. So it is. Beauty is truth, and truth is beauty. And she considers for a moment and then, very well. Shall we say the terms are that I shall stay next to thee only when I wish to?
Yeah, that sounds fine to me.
Aang will reach out and handshake.
Handshake,
Handshake.
but then pull into a hug.
Aww! Aang, of course, will hug back. Aang hugs are very interesting because she is hollow. So it's kind of weird as a sensation, I imagine.
It
Why do I
feels.
imagine you like pat the back and you just hear like bongo drums?
Dong, dong, dong.
I have a question. Would a stud finder not work on Aang?
It
Look,
would find the
all of
sight
the-
on her back.
No. See, the thing is, it's gonna work, right? Because Dee Dee's in there.
Hmm.
Are you calling Dee Dee a stud?
Well, Dee Dee would certainly think of themselves that way in a mask frame, would they not?
You're not wrong.
Well, that's one matter settled for the most part. Still, it means that you'll be far closer to humans than I think you care to be, but well, better than having to walk directly through a crowd if you don't want to. And I will say there is the matter of regarding all of this. Hawk wasn't the only person that was aware of Abigail. We'll look towards Abigail. I'm assuming you do not come from Starwick originally.
She shakes her head. No. I passed through Starwick on my way south. I don't know where I was going, but I felt like I should go south. Starwick was a bad idea.
What happened? Did something happen when you were there?
She shakes her head, like, not to say no, but more like remembering it and the frustration that was part of all of what happened. And she says, I got tangled up in... Sorry, I'm slipping into Pierre. I got tangled up in something involving some group or gang. I don't know what. I don't understand it. But I got away from them. I think that's why he was sent here. And she gestures to Hylas. And Hylas like looks left and right and points to himself and goes, me?
Well, doesn't even pay attention to Hylas's confusion. It is a matter of fact that happens all the time now. And she kind of sets an elbow on the desk and props a chin in her hand as she's looking at Abigail. That does bring up another question. And she blinks and pauses. But holds up a finger, turns back around. Because I know Angerald has been rather diligently listening to all of the questions and trying to keep track of the game here. You still have another question, Mr. Talltail, before we move on.
He sits a hand on his hip and he just goes, well, I'll be damned. I didn't think I'd get it. And he points at Paige and then goes, eeny, meeny, miny, and points at every person in the interim. And then he stops on Aang and goes, Mo. Now you are one strange looking tall drink of water, aren't you, Miss Angharad? It was?
Water does not comprise my body.
Quite right. Does not. But I must ask for well, safety's sake, and his eyes like flick over to Paige for a second and then back to you. What manner of fey does comprise your being, ma'am? Are you more closely aligned with the well, let's call them unsightly court?
Is he trying to say unseelie, or is
Yes.
he okay?
He's shooting for unseelie.
I was wondering about
Yo, are you like half ugly?
Let's see. She's with the Queen of Broken Branches court, right? But she's closer to Sealy, isn't she? Mostly.
Yes.
When she's
Yes,
not hungry.
The Queen of Broken Branches and her whole realm is more of the Sealy court.
Mm-hmm. Aang will just take a second there as she's trying to process, did he mean unsightly? Like there's clear processing, and then raises a finger of, oh, I think I understand. Speakest thou of Sealy and unsealy?
Ah, that's the one. Pardon me.
My mother's court is of the Sealy variety.
He nods his head and just goes, well, good to know, good to know. And he will reach into his pocket and pull out a little pen and paper and scribble something down.
And I do believe that means everybody that was conscious when the time of all this started has had their 2 questions.
Nod.
So that we are once more free to ask and talk freely. Though I will
Nod.
warn you, Mr. Talltail, because I have a sneaking suspicion that you are going to disappear shortly. You have created somewhat of a game for my others.
Now, what kind of game could I have made up for y'all?
They seem to take particular pleasure in finding you when you are about.
Oh, and there is like a clear like, haha, that's cute, but underneath that is like a you don't say.
And there's kind of a almost impish little smile. Yes, there's unfortunately few things that they manage to entertain themselves with if they don't like whatever I'm doing or talking about. But finding your little hints and drops of magic here and there is oh. And she looks to where Summer was, and remembering Summer's very triumphant grin. Let's just say, good luck in the future.
He tips an imaginary hat to you. He just goes, well, best of luck in your search. I wish you all the best, and I'll just have to step my game up, it seems.
Willow nods. No hard feelings. I'm sure that you are aware of what those unseen sometimes do with boredom. And she will just slowly turn back around to Abigail. Well, I don't suppose that you're up to talking just a little more so that we might understand more about you.
Me? She almost seems a little like just surprised that you would care.
Willow nods. There's been a great deal of interest in you, and you seem to have, had experiences with what you are capable of, but as of yet, I don't believe any of us here know what you can do.
Oh, and she shrugs and just goes, I I don't really know what I can do either. Not well, anyway.
Well, you're confident that it's magic and not a natural ability, right?
She nods.
Tell us about some of the things that you have done, whether intentional or not.
She narrows her eyes and kind of looks around on the floor, just remembering some of the things she's done. And without looking up, she says, I've changed shape before. I've turned into a bird. And I've turned other people into birds. Not intentionally. She looks a little worried. It's hard. I can't make it happen consistently. But it happens usually when I'm afraid. I've dreamed and feel like I've intruded on other people's dreams. She just puts her hand, like lifts her hand and brushes some hair out of her face. I've controlled people. I've made them do things. And I don't think they remember doing them. She looks a little distraught.
I imagine Paige, who is sitting right next to Pierre, just like straightens up, hearing more and more of this. Of like, huh, that sounds familiar. Huh, that sounds familiar. Huh.
Yeah, well, it was just like nodding. And just kind of looks over her shoulder at Paige, because she doesn't know the extent of Paige's powers. She does know about the dream, though.
Mm-hmm.
Well, can't say that myself or Paige would be much use in all of that, but I do know that Paige has had an experience or two of dream walking.
She looks over at you, Paige, and blinks. As like she doesn't say it, but the word on her face is like, really?
Paige nods. Yes, and another thing or two that I have also experienced. But the most recent thing would be the dream.
She starts to say something and then hesitates and then commits to it and just goes, I feel like a lot of my powers are, and she gestures around her head. They mess with people's heads. And they mess with plants.
That would be my area. Oh, well, accurately, Summer's area. I don't think you've managed to manipulate plants anytime recently, have you, Paige?
No, I think the plant spot is summer specialty, but the other thing, I guess it would be mine still.
Though what you're describing does sound like rather impressive magical feats from what I understand. Things that would be rather draining, even for somebody that is more used to and experienced with magic. And she will look, like turn the chair back around so that she can look over her shoulder at Mr. Talltail. Is he still there?
He's still there. There is a realization that he's like, he could have probably slipped away, but he didn't.
And as the other magic practitioner in the room, I don't suppose you have anything to weigh in on these?
Oh. Well, see, my magic comes from a wholly different place, but best of luck with your exploits and figuring them out.
Just there's like a little roll of the eyes, not like angry or annoyed, but just like a yeah, okay. Turns back to Abigail. And all of this is when you're frightened or angry or otherwise strongly moved.
She says, like, she says this and then exhales and kind of like hugs her knees again and just goes, yeah.
Yeah. It's nothing to be ashamed about. It's frightening and off-putting, considering how, you know, I assume all the towns are much like Tamlocked in their views of magic. But I can say for certain that when I'm in danger or strongly moved, that's usually when the others start peeking through and using their magic. So the same for you, Paige.
She hesitates before she slowly nods. Something like that. When I feel a lot of fear, something happens. So I do my best to avoid a feeling like that. Abigail, if you want, I can teach you some of the breathing exercises that I have learned to help you manage the feelings.
She kind of shifts in place a little bit, just more than anything shy, but she's interested, and she just very slowly nods her head.
And even if the breathing exercises don't work, and Willow just like motions from Hylas to Maddie to Aang, you have 3 people that are more than willing to shoot down or get in somebody's face if they threaten you for the near future.
Yeah, if there's at least one thing you've gained out of this, you got some protectors.
She smiles and looks a little tired. I think there's something that you should all know. People don't tend to do well around me. Things tend to go wrong around me. I'm not lucky. I think it's part of my magic too. Things break around me or just fall apart. It's like misfortune is a part of where I am. And she looks up at you, Willow, and then you, Madigan. When I go to a place, I try not to stay there longer than a week. Because after a week, monsters tend to come by. Like they follow in my footsteps.
Maddie walks over and puts a hand on her shoulder and just kind of laughs and gives a smile. Then you haven't been around hunters, have you?
She, like, you thump her with your hand, and she feels like a stack of twigs. She does not feel like a whole person. She is small and frail looking. When you pat her, she like, her whole frame wobbles. And she just goes, no.
I take great
You're-
pleasure in killing things like that.
And to be honest, if you're a hunter, you should expect bad luck.
She looks a little like aghast. Like, what What? Why?
You never know when the next thing you're hunting hunts you.
She simply nods and is a little shell-shocked. But there's distantly in her eyes, there is the sign of comfort. Like, okay, I know you're being comforting, but I'm still a little scared.
Maddie, realizing like that she's more scaring her a bit, she kind of lifts her hand and scratches her neck and her hair a bit, and it's like, look, Abby, I'm just saying you're in good hands, okay? We've got your back.
Madigan has
She-
been a hunter for, what, several decades at this point?
Nod.
She blinks and she nods once, and you can see there's a kind of thoughtful look on her face, and she goes, "What did you call me?"
Abby?
She blinks like she just doesn't understand a nickname. But she does. She does know what a nickname is. But you can tell from the expression on her face, she's never had one. This is a show of like camaraderie that she has not experienced before.
Kind of seeing the confusion, and she's a little like awkward herself, like, well, I'm not sure how to avoid this, so I'm just gonna go through it. And she gently puts her arm around Abigail's shoulder and like urges her towards the fire. Closer. Being
She will-
gentle.
She will scoot towards the fire. Where do you want her to be?
Just over here, where she's more closer to the fire. Or like over here if there's space, so that she's near the group more.
I don't know how to
She's trying-
half-step move without... I don't remember.
If you hold shift while you're holding your token, you can drop them wherever.
Oh my god, I forgot there's a fire. Joe, I have a request.
Yeah.
Can Paige, from her perch, still be roasting a marshmallow?
Sure.
Yep. I mean, secret's out. She's fucking lazy. Telekinetic hand roasting marshmallow. just floating it.
Joe, I moved her there on purpose.
Oh, sorry.
As she like grabs her arm, starts moving her, she's like, look, there's no need to be over here and hide. Like, we're all friends here. Come on. It's warmer over here. And you cannot tell me that you are not cold.
She, like, the way she's acting, she is very cold. But when you move her over to the fire, you can hear her say under her breath, "It is warmer." And she is noticeably, like, lightening up. Or brightening up, I should say.
And, being as insistent as she is, Maddie will dig through her pack and pull out, like, I imagine, like, a lot of her, like sleeping bag and whatnot is more just, like, furs kind of thing that she's collected.
Mm-hmm.
And she'll pull out, one that's kind of bit bigger that's meant for it to be a blanket and wrap it, like, put it on her shoulders. It is heavy, though, I will mention that. Because it's like, I don't know, like a bear pelt or some shit.
Yeah, like a fucking bear pelt. Like this big, hefty piece of fur.
It's like a cow king size down comforter. Kind of like big, soft, warm, but also kind of heavy.
Mm-hmm. this effectively like fur weighted blanket you throw on her, you can see it like almost crushes her, but she shells herself up and props herself on her knees, and she enjoys being cozied up by the fire and is much happier looking now.
And I imagine you're ready to get a change of clothes. I imagine between the three of us, and Willow will like motion towards Paige and Lorelei, I can find something that fits you.
Lorelei gets an idea, like that stance she takes where you hold up a finger and just goes, I know what. And she just goes, I have an idea. And she immediately jumps into her bag. And you can see her pulling out like extra exploring gear that she had brought with her, including like one of the stereotypical little like British safari caps. She has like several different extra pieces of gear that she can cobble together into some parts to a whole outfit.
Yeah. And I imagine Abigail is somewhere in between Paige and the sisters in size.
Mm-hmm.
So there's bits and pieces from all of them that they can use to finish out a better forest outfit than what she had on, because she only had like a really thin dress, right?
Yeah, she had effectively like just a thin, worn out outfit with no shoes.
Mm-hmm. And Paige also did buy clothing for her family, who are all so much taller than she is.
True.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, cousin, no outfit for you.
Mm-hmm.
I'll get you taken care of, Abigail. You don't even have to worry about that. And Willow looked towards Madigan with a very small smile and a nod of like, you're doing well. You got her to move. You got her comfy. And I'm sure Aang is more than willing to take the challenge of getting you fit and healthy.
Aang nods happily and has been observing all of this with a certain amount of pride. Yes, whatever it is that thou may have need of.
It does.
She
Go ahead.
she looks like positively like overwhelmed with the response she's getting. And she doesn't cry, but she almost does. You can see like the glistening shining of her eyes as she kind of wipes at her cheeks with the edges of the cloak or pelt.
Yes. Does still leave the question of where we're going from here. I know Lorelei and I were still curious about the rest of this place. She just kind of like gestures around. As far as going back to Tiamat, well, forgive me, Maddie, I do think that you probably need to sit and think about what you are going to tell Noose at the very least, before we head back that direction. And
Well, I mean,
if Abigail is indeed having issues with her powers and controlling them, I don't think sitting her in the middle of our home is a good idea just yet. Not anything against you, Abigail, just try to keep returning to birds to a minimum.
She nods. Like, clearly she's starting to doze off, but she heard you.
And in the meantime, we can both help her practice, no? Help get control on the powers.
Will or not. That can be our project for the near future, yes. What were you gonna say, Iris?
oh, I mean, we could also try and find Hawk. I know she's kind of like searching for herself right now, but She did tell us where her cabin was. Is.
Yeah. The other thing I think we need to throw into this situation is that if... Was it Mr. Biggs?
Yes. Barnaby Biggs.
If Mr. Biggs was paying people to look for Abigail, I have a sneaking suspicion that Hylas might not be the only one. Not to mention anybody else that she might have run into at Starwick that has some idea about her power. Might be worth going to Starwick to try and settle that before we go to Termarkt and bring mercenaries or anybody else of their ilk there.
The cabin would be safe. Aang seems a little wistful as she thinks about it. Alexandria took special precautions to ensure that it was very difficult to find.
Hmm.
Cabin might be safe, and perhaps a good choice for the short term, but I don't think most of us want to, well, consign Abigail to a life at a cabin.
Maddie just shrugs.
If you want to roll me a knowledge society check, Willow.
Society, where are they? There.
Oh!
Hey.
So, if you are in a living situation that is questionable, either because you need to always be moving or because you don't have anywhere to permanently stay, generally you could find a home in Murcott. Murcott is in the southwest from Termarkt. It is a caravan city. It is like a just collection of people and tents and movable homes, and the city moves and shifts not because of any magic or untoward unusualness in the atmosphere or magic, but because people come and go. And it is the large communal stop that people have come to. It is the stop before you get to the larger southern part of the coast that opens up into more like a broader area. And it's also the part that connects, more or less connects the north to the west by that, the coastline road.
Okay.
So if you had nowhere else to take her, you could find her somewhere in Murcott. Because somewhere in Murcott is a place for everyone.
Judging by this map,
Mm-hmm.
Hawk's cabin should be somewhere that direction, right? As well.
More or less, Hawk's cabin exists in a nebulous liminal space in the woods in this area.
Yeah, I was about to say. So Willow just... You see her thinking, you see her, like prep an elbow on the table, and, like, fingers drumming against her chin. And then she turns and looks towards Lorelei. Lorelei, have you or the others been by Murcott recently? Still standing?
Hmm? She puts a hand to her chin and does the little tap of the finger, and she just goes, "Not recently, but it's still there."
Willow just kind of looks around. Well, if everyone is willing for a little bit of a longer journey still, Murcott does have a transient nature that might better favor Abigail for safety in the long term. At least from what I recall of it. Enough people come and go from there without enough permanency that, well, you have to hide. Somewhere that you can try. Certainly easier than facing down the Inquisition and, noosing the more fanatical hunters in Termarked.
Or we could help, or you guys could help and try to get her to control it. I mean, you all have lived in Terramark for how long?
You start talking to us as a group. Repeat what you just said, Iris, so that Amy can hear.
Oh, sorry. Maddie said, or you can teach Abigail to control it and, go to Terramark. Like, you guys have lived there for how long? Without no one realizing what you are?
There is a very distinct, narrowing of the eyes from Willow. And it's probably the closest to legitimately annoyed that she has directed in Maddie's direction since they've met. She will glance back towards Paige. I'm assuming Paige also has a similar, not great reaction.
Pretty neutral reaction. She's more so just thinking about the options right now.
I have survived in Termarked, yes. But in my instance, it is number one, because I've only had magic for a relatively short time. And the longer I live there, and the more I do, the more there's a risk of me being found out. So I have gotten a profession that I can hide some of it within, which is not necessarily easy. And number two, I very much have the benefit of a family name and family connections. I can offer some shielding to Abigail, but not nearly the same amount that I currently have and enjoy.
And as much as I want to take her back home, I mean, I have had magic for, I guess my whole life, but I am a bit of a special case when it comes to getting caught with it. So, I think if we can get more control on the magic, it could be possible, but we do need to have other options in mind, no?
And I would Caution, Madigan, in the future. This is not me blaming you by any means, nor trying to be hostile. But witches are still hunted. Weirdlings might have a place if they so choose to join it. Witches do not. Termarked is very harsh for those that have magic.
Hmm.
I'm assuming there has been stories of witches being found and like not great things happening within their
Oh.
lifetimes.
There have been public hangings.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think maybe we could try to go there, but only for a little bit of time before we go back and travel a bit.
Well, and the other point towards Murcott, if I can throw it out there, it does have a smaller population than Termarked. It would benefit both Abigail and Angerod to test the limits there before they deal with Termarked or Starwick. And she kind of glances at Ang.
Aang is listening. She nods in thanks and like a thank you for the consideration sort of way, but she doesn't want to get into the way of the decision making here.
Well, I gave my suggestions. She just kind of throws her hands up in the air, like, eh. She does seem to have a little bit of like a slight twitch in the corner of her eyes and her brow. She does look a little annoyed as well, but she just kind of shrugs it off with the, I don't know. I gave my suggestions. What do you want to do?
I would like to go home sooner rather than later, but I don't know if it's possible at the moment.
Well, you did tell your family that you were off going and doing a circuit for your magic show, yes?
She nods.
And I did promise my brother to try and make some trade agreements with other towns and villages that we might come across. So, you can make those little white lies a truth if we go somewhere else.
Also, see what Abby wants.
Really not. Right now, I think she just wants to sleep. I imagine she is knocked out.
She's already asleep.
Curled up in a little fur blanket burrito.
Mm-hmm.
Aang will look around at the rest of the gathered group. Yes, that's right. Isn't rest necessary for thy kind? It is nearing the hour.
just kind of sighs. And I suppose we could lay out all of the pros and cons to Abby in the morning and see if she has any thoughts or opinions one way or the other while we make a full decision. And until we do make a decision, Willow looks towards Lorelei, then gestures kind of vaguely. We have more ruins to explore.
Lorelei, like, does the little, like, hand to wrist clapping. Like the rapid, like, pop, 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 pop.
Mm.
Why do I hear Amy noises and like how Paige is not happy?
It's more of a sailor style.
Aw.
Aw.
But Paige will be like, okay, looks like we're winding down. Mr. Talltail's still there?
He is.
She's gonna turn to him. I imagine she's finished roasting her marshmallow. And she's just taking little nibbles at it. And before you disappear, do you have any suggestions on controlling magics or no?
He looks inquisitive for a moment. And then he looks over to where Abigail is asleep. And he just goes, Well, generally the powers that I fiddle around with don't need to be controlled too much. They tend to be relatively controlled in the form that I receive them. But if it were up to me, well, suppose there's breathing exercises. Could always outsource it. Get something or someone else to control your magic for you. There's all sorts of magical foci out there in the world, I'm sure.
What do you mean?
Well, things like magic wands, magic crystals, magic balls, magical devices, or things that hone in on magical power. It lets you direct it. And if you have one of those or enough of them, you can more or less dampen your magical output a little bit. Keep yourself more in line. Usually, he shrugs.
Paige nods. Looks down at her cane. Huh. Thoughts? Yes, she just gestured to it. Because I imagine it's just sitting pretty, leaned up against where she's sitting.
Mm-hmm.
And would this count as one of those?
He does a finger gun and, like, bingo.
Okay, so we can, I guess, start there. See if that could help Abigail.
Well, don't just give it away.
And she looks at him, raises an eyebrow.
He pulls himself back a little bit.
Oh?
You should,
why not? No, it is mine, no?
It is yours. You are free to do with it as you see fit. But it would be my professional opinion that you should consider alternatives for Miss Abigail.
But Monsieur Tolte, I don't know any alternatives. Do you have any? Because if I don't have any, then I guess I'm going to have to give her the cane, no?
Have to is a strong turn of phrase. There's probably one lying around here. A bunch of academics.
Oh, but how would we know what it is, you know?
Aang will nod along with Paige. Charity is a virtue.
Paige cannot help her small little grin. And she nods at Aang. I'm like, yes, I am incredibly virtuous.
I don't suppose there's any particular, I don't know, way of making a foci.
Making a foci is one thing. Or finding a foci is one thing. Making one is a whole different thing entirely. Suppose you could try to make one. You just need a magical conduit of some sort and a suitable container for such magical conduit. Magical conduit being some kind of piece of a magical creature, like a hair of a griffin, or maybe some scrapings of a unicorn horn, or a fae. He looks at you, Aang.
Stare back.
He seems less enthusiastic now, almost like you solved the riddle too quickly, and he just goes, suppose a hair of a fae could work.
Pluck hair. Hand to Willow.
Willow just takes it, kind of looks it over. Well, one ingredient down, something to hold it. Anything else?
Y'all are too smart for your own good sometimes.
It's called being efficient.
And where would we find a container to? You said holds the magic?
You would just need a sturdy enough container of some make that is not antithetical to the magical properties of the thing. Something like a crystal. Or a rod that could be fashioned around it. Some sort of vessel that would hold it and operate at least a little bit with the user in mind. You don't want to wave around something like a baseball bat.
Let me open my inventory.
Thinking. Give an example of a crystal.
I have seen all of your inventories. I know for a fact you guys have several things that would work.
Snap off the end of a fishing rod and turn it into a wand.
So it's like whatever it could like be contained in, right?
Yes, you have to take the magical element and completely surround it in the thing. It has to be contained inside of something.
Contained inside of some. And he's probably not going to agree with Paige using either her cloak or her hat. Probably similar reaction to the cane.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, she could suggest it just to fuck with him. I have a face mask? Where the fuck did I get a face mask?
I think
When
I
we were
bullied-
coming in.
Ah.
Yeah, I think I bullied everybody into getting face masks. Because face masks have been too useful across multiple games to not have face masks.
There's the only other thing I have would be like the Whistler twig, but I don't know if I want to get rid of that.
No.
Yeah.
Let me see if I have anything else, which would be funny. Pitons? Can I interest you in pitons?
Would she like a gun? Magic gun.
Oh my god, your magic gun is a conduit. It would no longer fire. It would be relegated to being a magic wand that is very unfortunately shaped.
Well, hold on.
Uh-huh.
Would a book work?
A book would work.
Got that in spades.
The only
got
thing,
a fair few books.
The only thing that is somewhat questionable about a book is that if you open it, it no longer becomes a container. So you would have to hold the book and
Mm.
keep it closed.
Or we could glue it into the back.
You could do that.
Ooh, can we give this girl a spell book?
You could give her a spell book.
A spellbook that you'd never open, glued, sealed.
No, like you just take, like, when you open a hardback book
Mm-hmm.
and you open to one of the covers, there
Mhm.
is the, like, paper that connects the rest of the book to the, like, cardboard of it. That you
Mhm.
can peel up,
Oh.
put the hair inside, and glue back down. So that it is effectively encased in the cover of the book itself.
Oh, yeah. I like
That
this.
would
I
work.
like this. I think we're cooking.
Willow just, like, because Willow has multiple of these, because she has to have a book for both her alchemy and her creation stuff. She has multiple formulae book and spell books and shit. And so she just, like, pauses. Encased in something that is not contrary to the nature. Well, Aang, you do have a love of reading.
Aang nods. Poetry is how I came to know thy kind.
So there's nothing contrary to books in your nature.
Affirmative nod.
And Willow will reach down with one hand and kind of start shuffling through her bag. And we'll pull out a plain, what looks to be hard-backed journal that... Hold on, let me look at something really fast.
I imagine Willow is actually flipping through the book to make sure there's nothing in it.
Well, that's what I'm about to see if I can stretch something just a little bit.
Okay.
What if it is a book that has exactly one kind of quote-unquote spell where she was trying to figure out how something worked? And it's a cantrip that's timber, so it falls within Abigail's stated what she kinda can do.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, that would work. That would work as a magical focus.
And she kind of looks at, like, this, like, formulation for timber on it. And she nods. And she'll very carefully, like, place Aang's hair on, I imagine, like, a piece of paper that is still on the desk. And she gets to work, and you see her, like, pulling out tools and shit, deconstructing a book and tucking away Aang's hair inside before reconstructing the journal. And just holds it up after a few minutes, kind of twisting it one way and the other, opening it, flipping through the pages, making sure that it's staying together. Well, the old stories talk about spell books. I suppose this is one way to start.
Hmm. Just gonna turn to Mr. Talltail. And as this is going to work, yes?
He takes a long inhale and then exhales. Yeah, but he needs one more thing, and he'll hold out his hand as if to ask for it.
Willow just kind of, like, arches a brow, but will slowly stand up and walk over and give him the book.
He'll take the book, and he holds it in one hand and puts his hand, like, palm down on top of the cover. And then there's no light or flash, or there's no visual component to this. There's nothing shining about it. But there's like a pulse, like a very dull thump, like a heartbeat. And you you, Paige, and you, Willow, can feel the magic at work. As Mr. Talltail has taken the book and started to enact some form of magical sealing on it, as if to imbue it with the last little cherry on top of what it needs to be a magical focus. And he pulls his hand off, and he'll hand it back to you, Willow. And then he turns to you, Paige, and just goes, needs a little bit of investment from a willing donor. Some investiture of magical energy. You're welcome.
Thank you, monsieur.
Now, don't say I never give you nothing.
If you actually show up in town and are not hiding, we'll buy you a drink.
Hmm.
I can't even make it for you.
He looks to you both and gives you a nod and just goes, well, with my last good deed done for the day, I think it'll be a good wrap to my day. So I'm going to take my leave. I will see you all bright and early tomorrow morning. And by see you all, I mean I'll see you, but y'all won't see me.
Don't forget,
Don't trip on your way out.
don't forget the peanuts what you're down for this time.
Mm-hmm. Thank y'all for your touching concern.
Willow has not looked up from the journals, just examining it.
Hmm.
Aang will nod to him. 'Twas a pleasure to meet thee. Should thy stomach ever rumble, thou'rt welcome at the fire.
He looks at you, Aang, and he nods in a very polite gesture and just goes, and should your stomach ever rumble, I will be far away. And he tips his hat and starts to walk out the door.
Is there a lock on the door?
There is. Do you run over there and lock it?
Lock the door behind
Yep.
him.
Skunk.
Somehow I have a feeling that's not going to matter to him if he really wanted to come in.
It gives me peace of mind.
Yeah. At least you know that if it really matters, your nose was stronger than his magic.
She just grins at that.
I don't know what he was thinking doing that here.
Overconfidence. It's folly of men.
She nods.
Hey Joe, does Aang feel any different?
After plucking a hair and donating it willingly,
Mhm.
you feel like there is an element to it of like feeling elsewhere. You're not having an out of body experience, and you don't feel like you are less than yourself now, but you feel like there's a I don't know how to say it, like some kind of nebulous feeling that is different. Like a part of you is moving.
I think Aang is rolling her head side to side a little, trying to get used to the feeling, but doesn't comment on it exactly. It's just like when you put a cat in a shirt and it's just kind of like walking around, obviously like what the fuck is this?
I think Willow there's like a glance in Aang's direction, but if Aang's not speaking up, she's not asking.
Mm-hmm.
And Willow just kind of like holds up the journal. Like, well, here's to hoping that this is a start to helping her figure things out. It'll be different than either of us, I imagine. She gestures towards Paige, talking at Paige. But, well, not like anybody was there to teach either of us, so she's already a step up there, I suppose.
Yes, I think in some ways I envy her, you know?
Ah, I would say that too. But with the way she talks, sounds like she's had a rather bad time of it.
Hmm. It's a nod.
Willow will just hand the journal over to Paige.
Take journal.
We'll look around. Well, we are waiting for any further discussions about plans until tomorrow morning. I will have to unlock the door to go fight a demon of my own before bed. Willow just very briskly walks towards the door.
This
And-
is okay. Good luck.
Aang's head just sort of snaps up. A demon? Needs thou assistance?
It's probably better if other people aren't there. Odd has peculiar ways.
Aang will nod. Call if thou dost have need.
No, if you hear any loud noises, don't come out. Fucking walls.
Yeah. She's gonna tuck the book away. You know, she's gonna put it in her hat, actually. Extra safe. Take hat off, drop it in, put hat back on. It's gone. Vanished. There's a half-hearted little jazz hand from muscle memory of vanishing something. And fucking, is Pierre still, is he still conscious? Is he just chilling? Did he go to sleep?
He's
He's
still
good?
there. He's still chilling.
Okay, good.
He's
good.
just watching that whole exchange, and he's just like, I don't know what I woke up into, but it seemed like it shifted into a different thing, and now they're talking about magic stuff, and he's just vibing. He's also like
Okay.
he's not like unconscious, but he's in that sort of like almost unconscious mode where he's like fading in and out of like wakefulness.
Is he still injured?
I would think after the amount of time that he rested and the heal, I think he was put to full health.
Okay. Good. Is anyone else still hurt? Where'd Maddie
There's-
go? There she is.
Bumps and
Maddie's
scrapes.
missing some health.
Okay.
I am missing 12 health currently.
How much do you heal in a rest?
You heal your constitution times your level.
What is my con?
Minimum 1.
We're level 4?
4.
4. I heal 8, so I'm pretty good.
Okay. So we're about to rest, so fuck, I got spell slots. Just fucking top people off. You can speak now or forever hold your peace.
If no one else needs it, I'll be missing 2 HP.
Aang is missing 4, but that's fine. I've got an oil of unlife. I've got 2, actually, so.
Mm.
And you'll have more tomorrow.
I will have more tomorrow than I will use 1 now.
And okay.
I'll take it.
So I think Paige with her -1 con now, she heals for 1 total per rest?
Minimum 1, like me.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, in that case, we're gonna go ahead and just use up some spell slots.
Yep.
Gonna cast Soothe.
Soothe.
We're gonna go ahead. Aang, you're gonna go ahead and get Max, actually. For 14.
Damn.
And she's gonna do one on herself. 10. So she's back up
Good.
to full. You said Pierre's back up to full.
That's
Maddie.
con times level?
Con times level.
Okay.
Maddie have a heal too. That'll bring you back up to full. Because I think you'd only be missing 2, so
Yeah.
yeah, could roll a minimum of 5.
I roll low.
What about Abby?
Is she okay?
She's at full.
Okay.
That's something that I
Attrition.
don't know if I impressed upon you all in the way that I wanted to, but like she was very like worn out physically, and she was dirtied up and like muddy and tired, but there's no wounds on her. And
Mhm.
despite her like being thin and frail looking, she was not under any sort of like, there was no implication that she was starving. She just is a thin, frail looking person.
Had a rough time.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Also, Willow, what is it you were doing?
She has to try to placate Odd.
Yes.
I was gonna
So-
let everybody else get their shit out first, because Willow has talked a lot.
No, that's totally fine. I gotta use the bathroom really quick. I'll be right back.
Mm-hmm.
I
And
will also be right back.
I love that for Maddie, the reveal of Paige being a magician is like, oh, you mean magic.
Yeah.
Oh, shit. Yeah. Very sparkly. Very warm magic.
I think it's a little funny because Willow's all like, hey, you know, you don't have an issue with this, right? It's like, dude, have you looked at me? Was kind of the thought process going through my head.
It
Mhm.
was less a like, because like I feel like Willow understands Maddie enough to know that Maddie does not have an issue. That does not mean that everybody around Maddie won't.
Yeah.
And so Maddie does have to talk to the other hunters and Noose at the very minimum. So it's like, you realize you're going back to the people that would at least be, in part, in charge of capturing all 3 of us, jailing us, and then eventually either hanging us or burning us at the stake.
Don't bring it up. Easy.
Uh.
It's called a secret for a reason.
Just imagine, like, I don't know if Paige would be the same, but Willow's inner monologue to that entire, like, attitude. It's like, I don't want to say you don't understand, because Weirdlings had a time of it early on, but you don't understand right now.
And they still do. It's not the exact same, but they still do.
That's why Willow was, like, trying to be very careful and acknowledge, like, Weirdlings have had their issues and their struggles, but, you know, they're less likely to get hanged right now than we are.
Yeah, right now they face a lot of discrimination. Witches are still being killed for sport. Which is like, yeah, they're just one step ahead. Still sucks all around. Fuck the church.
Yeah, I think we can all agree there.
Yeah. And also, like, yeah, Paige has been hiding the city with magic the longest, but also she's got a fucking built-in thing that she can't really teach.
Yeah, both Willow and Paige have successfully hid, but they have successfully hid because they have very extreme advantages.
Mm-hmm. Hello.
Webba.
And unfortunately, all of those advantages are not something that they can just give away.
Yeah, like Paige can teach like how to best control magic that happens when you get too scared. That's shit she does all the time. I can teach you. I can also teach you how to like use this focus we just made for you. Because I have one. It's gonna be fine. We're gonna get you under control as best we can. And it's fine. If there are any monsters, those three will take care of it.
I'm back.
Welcome back.
Webba.
Okay.
Hi, Claire.
Oh, sorry. What was I doing? What were we doing? Talking to
Say-
Odd.
Tell Claire I said hi.
Amy says hi.
It was very
Claire
amusing
said hi.
that Claire somehow magically saw Onion.
She can tell when there's cats on the screen. We're talking about you.
All
Only good things. Yeah.
End of day shit is happening.
Let me know when to click rest button.
If no one else is doing anything, then you can click rest button for end of day.
Yeah. Only thing Paige is doing is just fussing over Pierre, making sure that he is okay.
It does not take much fussing for him to basically be like, no, stop it.
Don't fucking care. Paige is his little sister and the medic.
He puts up a very little of a fight before he just conks out.
Yep. Good. Get rest. Go to sleep. Well, yeah, that's it.
Okay. Then, Willow, you step into the adjoining room here. What? It does not, like, because you are intending to talk to Odd, it does not take much to bring her to the forefront of your mind, because she kind of is already present in your mind. So she,
like,
more or less, like, oh, go ahead.
I was about to say, I imagine that Willow, like, when she goes to, like, the next room, because Summer would still be there, because she has, like, dragged her forward. Just, like, kind of be like, oh, thank you for your assistance. I knew that it was a little jarring, but, well, you're the only one I knew that had the capabilities.
She does a polite bow, which is very strange coming from yourself, and she just goes, happy to help. Anytime.
I am afraid I have to apologize to Odd. I did kick her out to some extent.
She just doesn't, not a flinch, more of a wince. Just goes, well, hopefully she's accommodating.
Yeah. Wish me luck. That's when she starts kind of pulling the threads to try and get Odd to actually come forward rather than just like watching.
The last thing you get from Other Willow is Godspeed. And then instantly she is pushed down and buried, not in like a aggressive way, but in a more sudden swap of personality and power, and you are left with Odd. Odd stands opposite the side of the door with you in a mirrored pose to you. And you, like, it's strange because she is in a mirroring stance. It really does paint the picture of standing in a mirror with her.
Willow just like takes a breath and will give a little nod of the head. I am sorry for being forceful earlier. I was rather interested in making sure that a friend stayed alive.
She looks you up and down. Eyes, the movement of her eyes breaking the mirror. And she just, no hard feelings.
I suppose you heard everything that happened in the other room.
Her eyes dart over to the door, and she looks back to you. I did. The young one is a witch with uncontrolled power.
Willow nods, with the request that we try to help her figure out how to control it. You seemed rather interested in her. Was it simply because you sensed the magic or something else?
Her magic is similar. And she holds up her hand, and now she is now completely broken the mirror facade. And her fingers, like, there's like a warble, like heat waves coming off of concrete between her fingers.
Do you think they come from the same place?
She looks up at you. No. Yes. I don't know.
Willow just... You see her processing, and this is a very, very tiny nod of the head of not like yes, not saying yes, but of the gears turning. I don't suppose you'd have any advice for her?
She looks at her hand again, and there is more of that heat waving. And she looks off to the left now and takes a step in that direction and vanishes, only to reappear just a few feet later. And she looks over her shoulder back to you and says, my advice is to not control it. Let it free.
and there's a very tiny smirk. Oh, I'm not surprised by that, I guess. And your thoughts on this place?
She looks ahead. She's looking at something, but it's not clear what. This place. The power here. The power within her. And within me. It's all from the same place.
Willow kind of frowns and tilts her head and will move kind of along the opposite side of the table. Not trying to mirror, just more so starting a pacing commotion. It would seem it's separate from the science that was going on here. Something of the weirding itself, perhaps?
Odd nods. Whatever science they uncovered here. Whatever discoveries they made. They were separate. And then something came from below. Something always comes from below.
Willow will move far enough forward that she can turn and see Odd's face again. Kind of like leans forward, hands on the back of a couple of chairs. Were you aware of a dream that I had a few nights ago? Something that both Summer and Winter also shared.
Odd looks distant for a second. Not looking at you, not really looking at anything, just kind of looking ahead. I remember.
So you saw it, but you did not participate in it.
I couldn't.
And do you know why?
It wasn't for me in the way that it was for you. Here, she gestures to the room, to the surrounding area, and also in here. This place is for me. Down is for me.
Why do I have the feeling that down is also far more dangerous?
She looks at you now very pointedly and with like no levity in her voice at all. She nods and just goes, because it is. Things crawl out from down. Things a hunter hasn't seen. Things not meant for the woods or the city streets. Things that make a fae's skin crawl. She looks left and right like someone's listening to her, or trying to. And she leans on the table. And where she leans on the table, you can see that there's like weight. There's like a physical presence behind it. There are things here now, waiting for you. Waiting for her. And she nods her head towards the right. They can hear you. They can feel you. Like I feel them.
Things I should want to avoid or things I should want to meet?
There's a cross, like a very strange look in her face. She looks conflicted. They would try to take me from you, I think. They would try to they would hurt you. These things are dangerous. They cannot be reasoned with.
Kind of frowning, Willow nods very solemnly. And they hesitate to ask, are you eager to find some freedom from this? She just kind of like gestures between them.
She thinks about that for a second. Yes. I do want to see what's down there. Something about it. Something about it calls to me. Like I belong there. And she looks at you, Willow, and there is something of like recognition in her voice. I'm not human. Not like you. Not like them. And she gestures, like nodding her head to the side, not towards the doorway, but rather towards your left, like where you imagine summer or winter would be.
Do you actually know what you are, or do you just know that you are other?
She looks at you and just nods. I just know that I am other. I don't know why I'm with you either.
I'm not eager to have you trapped in any way. But if whatever is down there that you feel a calling towards does indeed intend to harm me and the others that I am traveling with, well, can I promise that I will go searching for it eventually? But not right now. Not while you yourself are so certain that I am incapable of handling it.
Her fingers, like she's still kind of leaning on the table, and her fingers curl into a fist. can't. You can't die. And she's not saying that as if to say, like, you're immortal, but no, as if to say, she doesn't want you to die. And her head, like, snaps and twitches, and you can see she's, like, fidgeting, doing that jerky, sudden motion. And she looks down and holds her head down so you can't quite see her face. And the hair kind of cascades over her forehead and, like, obstructs the view of her face even more. And without looking at you, she doesn't look up. She just says, I have to go. And you get the impression that she is holding back something.
Willow just kind of straightens up a little bit. This is watching it with, I imagine, the same kind of discomfort that she always has. But there's a single nod. I won't stop you. But I would like to talk again, whenever you're able.
She doesn't nod. You can tell she heard you. But she is now, like, her hands slide to the edge of the table and she's, like, holding it and gripping the table with all the might she can. And she's twitching a little bit at the shoulders, at the neck. And all she can really manage is what you think is a nod. A very slight nod. With that, she jerks backwards. You can hear the popping of bones, like her spine is loosing a bunch of little pockets of air. And she takes a step back and then turns left and turns right. And it's like she's possessed as she pulls herself and yanks herself in one direction and then another. And then she stumbles, like, lurches forward and then lurches backwards into this room, and then the door shuts and she is gone. The door, she does not shut the door just slams as she gets across the threshold.
Just, like, waits a beat. And when there is silence, we'll walk around the table and carefully open the door.
When you open the door, there's nothing here, but on the wall inscribed, this is what appears to be some sort of kitchen. On the wall here, inscribed into the wall, which is cracked and, like, somewhat crumbled looking, carved in there, like with a knife, are the words, "Careful where you look."
And Willow kind of stares at that for a moment, closing the door again. And she will very slowly head back towards the room. imagine with everybody starting to curl up into their various sleeping bags and shit.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And she will, as she like moves towards where Lorelai is to like imagine set up a sleeping bag next to her, will look very pointedly at Aang, because I imagine Aang's the only one that is still like mostly upright at this point.
Yeah, I was going to mention she's probably still up, but yes, Aang is still up.
And will very like firmly like look at her with a very serious expression. We need to be very cautious here for the rest of the time that we are here. There are things I think that might be hungry.
Hunger is a thing most foul. I shall keep watch over thee and the others. But this place rests ill upon my spirit.
Willow, there's a single nod. Unfortunately, I think that the more foul a place is, the more likely it is to hold answers.
Go on.
No, you go ahead.
In my head, for some reason, I'm imagining Aang doing like embroidery or crochet or knitting or something because that just feels right for her. But
Mm-hmm.
that would all involve metal, so unless I am allowed to have like bone hooks.
Yeah, you could have bone.
You can have wood too. I have wood
Yeah.
knitting needles.
All right,
Yeah.
Aang is doing wooden knitting
Let's go.
and probably working on a fucking sweater for Maddie because of course she is.
It
So
was
the last
for Maddie. It's about to be for Abigail.
yeah. Going to have to size down considerably. It was place is more likely to have answers if it's dangerous, right? Aang will set her knitting down for a moment and tilt her head. Art thou well, Willow?
Willow just kind of. There's another nod. You see, she's kind of pensive, she's thinking about something. I am fine. I'm not so sure about my others, though.
The other Willows.
One of them is very convinced that there are things that hunger specifically me and her.
And thou hast promised to thy sister further examination of this place?
A little bit further, yes.
Perhaps, if I may be so bold, it should stay a little.
There's a very unhappy expression before Willow again gives a single nod. You know how lying is against your nature.
Nod.
Ignoring what could have the answers is against mine.
It's a difficult position to find oneself in. She sort of rolls her head a little, still getting used to the feeling of having part of her elsewhere. But what of the safety of thy sister and our companions?
Well, you see her like lips kind of thin as they press together. She is finishing setting up a bedroll. And just turns a little bit more towards Aang, still kind of crouched down. Well, I suppose we shall have to come to a decision on where to go. Sooner rather than later if we want to shorten the exploration then.
There's a nod from Aang, and as Willow starts to pick up the bedroll again, she picks up her knitting again. Murcott did seem interesting in thy counting.
Yes, hoping that it's close to what the memory tells me it is.
Tilt of head? Do human cities that easily shift?
Goes from kind of the pensive look to a little bit of a smirk. Well, I know you've not been around that many humans, but you know that we are rather an impatient lot.
Extremely.
Part of being so short-lived, I imagine. Our cities change just as quickly.
There's a It will be pleasant, I think, to see what thy lives are like. It hath been many a year since I, in the company of humans, lived.
She kind of looks back over her shoulder at Aang again. I know you're not happy about going into the city, not truly. But you do realize, for all the protection that we might offer Abigail, it does extend to you as well.
There's a soft smile from Aang. Yes, I am beginning to feel that, as a bird feels the change of seasons.
Willow nods. And if it is any comfort at all, I imagine as long as you stick close, well, I do know that there's a few things I can do to help guide attention elsewhere. I imagine Paige has the same.
A nod and a small, grateful smile, and then it will be good to see the rest of the flock pleased as well. I wager the forest speaks not so strongly to them.
And there's a kind of a slow blink. Willow processing. Wait, she just call us a flock?
Mm-hmm.
The hell?
Well, I was like, wait a second. Run that back.
We're not sheep, damn it. But she nods a little bit. And who knows? Maybe given a few days and a few interesting experiences, you might even come to enjoy some of the, let's just call them benefits of city life. Murcot's hardly a city.
There's a smile. Although this one is a lot tighter. This is the, like, how do I put this? Oh, of course we can pay for the field trip. I wasn't planning on doing anything else with that money sort of expression. I shall try.
Yeah.
I think it would be good to try.
Yeah, think of something that you might enjoy in the city. If you enjoy cooking in and of itself, but there's things that even you and all your awareness of the wood would not be able to find. But you can in a city.
A pause. Is there an organ in Murcott?
Like the instrument.
Nod.
And Willow tilts her head. I can't say for certain one way or the other. If there is, Malakot would be one of the few places that might be. And no, there's one in Termarked. I'm assuming there's one in Termarked.
Oh, for sure.
It's lousy with organs. That's a very nefarious.
that's a
fucking pipe.
fucking ridiculous. Like, the place is lousy with organs. You look left and right, you got fucking people pretending they're Stradva and Zarovich, just fucking playing like crazy.
I can't fucking swing a dead cat without hitting a fucking organ.
Well, I knew there's one in Termarked. In one of the churches, my brother has made me attend a service or two and listen. Yeah, some of the concerts, even without the services, are actually rather interesting.
There's a small brightness to Aang's eyes. Not terribly far from here, there was once a convent, and in that convent there was an organ. Sadly ruined now, but once a source of great joy for me. I should like to play the organ again.
Anyway, it's just a a small thing comparison. But I would almost guarantee there's a piano in Murcott.
A moment of consideration. I should like to try the piano. And a soft smile. Can that be my thing?
Why not? Don't see why not. I'm sure all of us would enjoy hearing your music.
A fondness creeps into Aang's expression. And I should like to play it for them. Then a pause, and the hour is late, Willow.
Oh, I know. Just kind of like waves a hand.
In the morning thou shalt sorely.
Sometime I shall have to tell you about the research binge I went on that had me up for 4 days straight. It was rather entertaining.
Here's a narrowing of the eyes. That does not kill humans? Question mark.
Not quite.
Let us not endeavor for a repetition, then.
No, repetition should be fine. We know it doesn't kill me.
Willow.
Willow just kind of grins. Do you not see me getting the bedroll ready?
Fair.
But she will get in the bedroll and settle down. Glasses come off. She is now blind.
And continues happily knitting away.
Okay. And as you lie down to finally rest your head after a incredibly long and trying day of fighting ghouls and some other creatures and venturing down here and finding Abigail, you all finally can click your rest buttons. You successfully made it through a long but good day.
We did it!
You did it.
Lo hicimos.
There is one thing that happens during your watch, Aang. And it happens well into your watch, into the early hours of the day. Or night, I should say. Well past the point anyone would have fallen asleep. In the weeest hours of the morning, probably right after you finish being in your state of torpor, the fire has been quelled. It is dark. So you are left in the room now. Willow, why are you bright?
Because Willow
What?
had a fucking lantern.
But that's so cool. Your little bullseye lantern lights up for you.
Yeah.
Equip it. It's supposed to be dark. Put that shit out.
Look, I'm trying to get the rest of my dailies done.
But in the dark of the room, after the fire has all but died and is just smoldering ashes that glow like red in the pitch darkness, Aang, you can see now, like, there's no one in here. This is a small room. Keeping watch in this area is ideal because there's no way anyone or anything could sneak up on you. Which makes it all the more unsettling when, as you are sitting here, enjoying your little break and doing your little knitting, you hear the most horrifying thing you could imagine hearing, which you can't place anywhere, but you hear it. You hear the very, very soft
That's pretty fucking creepy. I imagine Aang sits up from torpor and immediately goes for her scythe and starts trying to look around.
You search the whole area. Everyone is sound asleep in their own respective little piles of blanket and pillow. And there is no one in here. The door is locked still from when Maddie touched it last. Maybe Mr. Talltail, but probably not. Something tells you it wasn't him. But there's nothing here.
I think Aang grits her teeth a little and will go visually check the door is locked, come back, sit down, sits with her scythe across her lap. What manner of creature art thou?
There is no response from anyone. Your words just hang in the air. But you don't feel like they weren't unheard.
Oh, that's a weird fucking feeling, dude. That's an excellent detail. I hate it. She will sit there with the scythe in her lap, and despite this, she will put the knitting away and, realizing the time, will start some of the very early morning prayers as a form of self-soothing. But she's extremely aware now. Extremely aware. Of Paige being
Paige
a DJ
spinning.
over there.
Paige is a restless sleeper. But your watch ends uneventfully, thankfully. And the morning comes, one slowly creeping hour at a time.
I think
The day is
Aang-
yours.
Yeah. Aang will wake everybody after she has already started on breakfast, so it's, nice and fresh. Doesn't wake Pierre to help because he is resting. He needs
Pierre
all that
is-
rest.
He's sprawled out like anime sleeping style, where he's like mouth open, like.
Rip to any light sleepers in the fucking room.
Rip.
Yeah, and we'll start up breakfast and we'll wake people when breakfast is nearly done so they don't have to wait too long.
There's a small little page wall in the corner next to Pierre. That as breakfast gets more and more closer to finishing and the smell arises slowly, little beady eyes peek out from the page ball. She's going to scooch and inch her way closer to food. Still in
Okay.
ball form, though.
Egg will hold out a bowl of stew, and there's a cup in her hand of something else, Paige. Something that smells vaguely sweet.
I imagine it was just same sleepy normalness of like handed stew. Little hands poke out to grab the stew. Little nose twitch at the hint of sugar, and she just bolts upright.
Aang will note this and nod. I have the feeling this would entrance thy spirits.
And good morning. What is that? It smells sweet.
Aang will tilt the small cup just a little bit. And there's, I imagine, Joe, it's okay if this is too much to have scavenged, but I imagine it's not out of the question to have some, honeyed, roasted honeyed nuts, maybe?
No, I think that's fine.
It's some roasted honeyed almonds or something of this
Mhm.
fruit.
Oh, sugar.
She doesn't hold it out, though. She's just showing it to you.
I see the game you're playing. Just looks at Angharad, and her expression slowly becomes flat. It's okay. So, what do you want in exchange for the sweets?
There's a small smile. A two-part deal. Firstly, thou must finish all thy stew. Secondly, I would enjoy a magic trick.
She looks at Stu. Is it like a big portion?
It's not huge. She knows Paige
Okay.
well enough not to give Paige a huge portion of stew. That's the Maddie bowl.
Yeah, that's the Maddie bowl.
It's like there's the pot that you cook in, you dip out a portion for everybody, and then you just hand the pot to Maddie.
Yep. And it's like everybody else is like a bowl. Paige has like a cup.
Yeah. She doesn't eat a lot.
Mhm.
She looks at it, thinking over this deal. She really doesn't want to. About I will eat as much as I can before I get full, and then I do the trick.
Aang holds out her hand.
Okay.
Deal
Deal.
secured.
Deal secured.
I imagine it is. Paige hasn't shook Aang's hand before, I imagine. So I imagine it's a little weird for her between, like, oh, that's kind of lighter than I thought. And also, oh, there's clearly something in the middle of that. There's clearly a hole in the middle of that hand.
Mm-hmm. I imagine there was some hesitation. Paige wanted to put her gloves on before she shook the hand.
Valid.
Not because Aang is gross or anything, but because she doesn't want to get blasted with more of Aang's past.
She's already seen so much.
Yeah. It's like, I am putting on my gloves so that I don't see that shit again. I've already seen it. I know too much about you, and you don't know that yet.
Oh, look, free psychic damage.
Yeah, free psychic damage. No, not this early in the fucking morning. But no, she will eat. That's for later. But she will eat the stew. She probably finishes most of it, like 75% of it. She doesn't eat a lot. She will eat the candied almonds, the honeyed almonds. And then she will show Angharad a magic trick.
Delightful.
Pick a card.
Okay, I picked a card.
I imagine she does the kind of trick where the card comes out of the stew cup.
Aang is like extreme poggers about this, even though she knows that actual magic exists.
This is just pure skill, baby, and Paige is this is doing numbers for her ego. It's great.
Aang is actually very effusive in her praise.
Wonderful. Yes, deal accomplished. Sugar acquired.
I imagine Willow has woken up by this point and is like getting ready. The standard sibling bickering happening between the sisters as they both get ready. And she sees the magic trick. It's just from across the room you hear, well, if you ever lose popularity amongst the humans, you know that you are very entertaining to the Fae.
Perks up even more at that. Yes, and this is not even using the real magic. This is just, skill.
I feel like they'd be more impressed with the skill than with using any actual magic.
Verily.
She nods. Kind of flips her hair over her shoulder a little bit. Yes, you see, I am the best magician in the family. I have taught Pierre everything that he knows. But I am the better one.
Aang will lean over to Paige very conspiratorially, smiling. A mother hath no favorites, Paige.
Ours does.
What was that?
Ours does.
Spoken like a sibling. Abigail from the side just goes, "You're a mother?"
Aang will. Oh, what a question to have asked!
If it helps, Maddie's still asleep.
Aang will look over to Abby, and there's both a very. She's happy to have asked the question, but it is a complicated one for her, and it seems as if she's considering things. But she looks over at Maddie and then tries to roll the words over. And Joe, you can stop me here at any point if she is unable to say what I am about to say. Well, not in the strictest sense of the term. Alexandria, Hawk and I were very close, and Hawk raised Madigan there. And as such, I consider myself to be something of a stepmother.
No, that all checks out. Abigail like blinks and looks over at Maddie and then looks back to you, Aang. And you can see the puzzlement. Willow, you can see puzzlement. Willow and Paige and Lorelai can see that this was the puzzlement of like, wait, but you're so young. You're like the same age as Maddie.
Willow did not see jack shit, because you want to know what Willow is doing?
What?
She has managed to get a chunk of meat out of the stew that she has, and is very carefully waving it closer and closer to Maddie's nose.
Then at least Paige sees the puzzlement in the background skit going on.
You see Willow waving a piece of stew meat over Maddie, trying to get Maddie to levitate out of the bed like a cartoon.
Smelling pie. Yeah.
You know, she's doing that. I do this shit to my dogs, man. Wave something that smells good until they wake up.
I think Paige chomps on an almond, turning her head away from looking at what Willow's doing with Maddie, just thinking that's going, I guess, about 30 seconds. When she turns back.
Willow's gonna start keeping a track record of how long it takes.
With various different kinds of meat.
Let's see.
Yeah.
Let's see. Gonna roll.
You have imprecise scent, so
I know. That's why I'm making it a D10. Well, yeah, D12, but D10. Yeah. Food.
Yeah. But, sorry,
God.
Ken?
After you.
But I think Paige can put two and two together what Abigail is thinking. Yeah. Paige just kind of takes another bite. Honey-covered goodness. Just looks at Aunt Harriet for a second, tilts her head for a second, looks back at Abigail. You know, I think that we are the same age, no?
Abigail nods like, you're so young.
And Aang is starting to understand what the that's what's weird to them. And she nods. Yes, but I have been this age for 26? Question. We'll ADR it if it's not 26.
Yeah.
26 years.
Yes, she cheated.
What was that?
Abigail,
She cheated.
No, she cheated.
Mm-hmm.
Abigail is like trying to puzzle out, like, wait, you've been the current age for 26 years. So are you 26? Or are you whatever age you are for 26 years? And she, like, the logistics of magical creature aging are complex and weird to her, and she is just like and then she gets distracted on her train of thought as she sees Maddie, like, I imagine slowly rising out of the pelt covers to meet.
Practically levitating.
I imagine her eyes squinted open. She sees the meat, like, inches from her face, and she's like, she tries to bite at it, half asleep.
Madigan, dear heart, it is bad manners to nip at a friend's fingers. A whole bowl awaits thee.
She tries to, bite at it again. She's like, what are you doing? Why?
Willow just like smirking to herself will just like grab one of Maddie's hands, put the meat into her hand, and we'll go back to her own bowl. And you see her pull out a little tiny notebook and start writing something down.
I imagine she was kind of like lifting her neck and head a bit, like still laying on her back, lifting her neck and head to eat or to try and nip at it. She lays back down, eyes open, and just hand on mouth, like flapping the hand onto her mouth to eat. As she slowly stretches and sits up.
Joe, is Hawk an early riser or a late sleeper?
Hawk is probably an early riser, especially at her current age.
Mm-hmm. And Aang just looks over at Maddie. For all the ways in which thou dost resemble Alexandria, 'tis puzzling indeed that this is not one of them. There's that fond smirk.
There's a reason why I took the night shift and Hawk took the morning shift. Food? What'd you make?
Madigan, thou knowest thou needst to be upright.
I'm sitting, aren't I?
Is she?
Yeah, she's sitting. She sat up. She stretched and sat up.
Okay.
She's still in her covers and blanket, but she sat up.
If she was stretched and sat up, then Aang will meet her there. This is probably about as good as we're gonna get. And we'll hand her the pot with the rest of the stew after, as Z pointed out, she has already portioned everyone else's.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for the grub.
I left aside some of the meat before cooking it and tossed it back in according to thy liking. So there's chunks of like raw meat in there for Maddie.
She's waking up a bit more with each bite, and she's just, you see her go to open her mouth while she's chewing, but she pauses and just gives a thumbs up and continues eating with her other hand.
So, two of our party are ruled by their stomachs. That makes things rather easy. still scribbling in the notebook.
Wait, 2?
You can't tell me you did not just bend over backwards for the very chance to eat something slightly sweet.
But it is not my fault. I need to eat sugar.
Fueled by your stomach.
Hey, you need
Pierre.
food to survive. She says
Pierre.
through a mouthful.
Like from behind you, Paige, you hear Pierre say, "She has always wanted sugar."
Madigan, do not talk with thy mouth full.
Getting her to eat vegetables is like pulling teeth.
I am not going to eat vegetables. I don't need them.
Gestures. Just gestures emphatically.
What's the
Egg just looks over and is just Madigan.
Sorry, vegetables aren't that bad.
Yeah, gross.
Even my vegetables?
Detectator? I do not like them. I just need sugar. I just all I really need. But some people don't think that I know what I need, so...
That's probably why you're so tiny.
Aang looks a little crestfallen, and she looks at Paige. And I feel a deep need to consume flesh of the living, and yet I do not always indulge.
But it's destroyed, no? Anyway, more importantly, she's just standing up looking at fucking Maddie now. Fucking finger points. You are very good. That is not why I am small.
Didn't you ever hear that milk builds strong bones? And you need nutrients to grow big?
Pierre from behind you just goes, "Milk is not a vegetable."
I drink milk all the time.
Fucking emphatically gestures, just like, "That is not a vegetable."
He just waves a hand in the air dismissively. She's like, you don't get it.
Aang leans over toward Abby. Art thou fond of vegetables?
Joe?
Joseph!
Hi, sorry, I'm complaining to Claire about one of our cats that is going absolutely fucking mental upstairs. It's not Winnie. Sorry, what's up?
Aang asked Abigail if she likes vegetables.
Abigail, like, kind of shrugs, and she's not twiddling her thumbs, but she pulls a little cloak of bear pelt over her more, and she just goes, I think they're okay. I am just honestly happy to eat them if somebody else cooks them.
Ah, what a good child.
She looks like disgruntled and just goes, I'm 18.
Oh, you are so young.
I'm not a child.
Aang will, even still smiling and very like, I'm pleased with myself, will nod and forgive me. What a good young woman.
She seems somewhat appeased by this.
Hand stew.
She takes it and then makes like a little like trifold tent with the bear pelt so that she can stay mostly in the warmth zone while eating stew.
Good place to be.
Ew, vegetables aside. Abigail, we do have a few things to talk about with you. Simply to get your opinion, if nothing else. You don't have to make any decisions you don't want to. You can come to a decision as a group, but it is important that we do know what you think.
She looks anxious, but she nods. What is it?
And if I can just hand wave that we go over the options with
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
of tear marked, but there's these concerns about tear marked.
Mm-hmm.
Just going to Hawk's cabin, which is the safest, but also the most isolated.
Mm-hmm.
Starwick, which can cause its own problems, and then Murcott. I believe those are our 4 options.
Pretty
Yeah.
much. Pretty
I
much.
think so. Other than just staying in the woods away from civilization entirely.
Which
Aang's
she
fine
does.
with that.
She does not want to do that. She wants
Yeah.
to be in civilization for sure.
I don't think anyone but Aang wants to do that.
with the options laid out before her, she would really struggle to choose, but she would lean towards Murcott because Murcott sounds like a place where you go if you don't know where to go.
Okay. And is there one that she is absolutely seeming 100% against?
Termarked.
Termark. Okay.
She is outwardly very afraid of Termarked because she is afraid very because of how staunchly witch hunty Termarked is. She is afraid that she won't be able to control her magic, and she will thusly use magic and get herself and someone else in trouble.
Okay.
No.
So
About that.
Uh-huh.
Sorry, again.
Pause on that. Because I want to get this particular thing done and over with and decided before
Gotcha.
end of session, if that's okay with everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Because I also think it would benefit Joe to know where we're going before next session.
Mm-hmm.
Just to make things more expedient than arguing in circles in character. I feel like for Willow personally, if Abigail is very clearly not enthused with Termarked, Willow would be of the opinion, well, that is now not an option. Leaving Hawk, Starwick, and Murcott. And she would offer that probably the 2 best options would be Hawk and Murcott, but Hawk more as a stopping point to Murcott. Not as a be-all, end-all, drop Abigail off there and be done with it.
Yeah.
I'm amenable to this. And on the way, we can continue coaching her on controlling her powers and have Murcott be a test run. If she can control it.
We have another question, too, that we have to figure out. Are we doing this dungeon?
That is question number 2. Let's answer question number 1 first.
Uh-huh.
I'm trying to help navigate this. Herd the cats for a second. Herd the cats. So, Iris, for the where to next is if Abigail showed Maddie that she is very much afraid of Termarked, would Maddie be willing to try this concept of the test run Murcott? Swing by Hawk's place?
I mean, she'd be willing. In character, she would be like, well, it's not that bad, blah, 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 blah. But she would be willing to go to Murcott. Stop by Hawk's cabin, go to Murcott. See how that goes.
Kira? Aang?
Okay.
Yeah. Aang is willing to try Murcott. She is, as mentioned before, a little scared, but she's willing to try. And she now has a goal to aim for, which helps a lot. At the prospect of stopping by Hawk's cabin, she brightens significantly. She would like to do that, but understands if there's no time for it. But yeah, she's fine.
Mm.
So above table, we are all agreed that the characters would eventually whittle their way down to, well, we can stop by Hawk's cabin, tell her what happened, let her meet Abigail, and then we'll continue on to Murcott. And hopefully, in the interim, get Abigail comfortable with her powers to some extent.
Sounds
Yeah.
good to me.
Yep.
That's question number 1 done. Question number 2. Dungeon.
Uh-huh.
Having talked to Odd, Willow is less enthused to explore every nook and cranny of this place. She would want to do just a little bit more exploring, though. If at all possible. But she also knows that she can be outvoted.
Aang does not like this place, but understands the position that Willow is in and supports a small amount of further exploration.
Amy?
Paige would like to leave. However, does see the merit in exploring and learning more about what the fuck happened here. So she will be willing to explore more as long as she is either in the center of the group or in the back of the group.
Eris?
Whichever is safer.
I think Maddie would be more like, okay, we've reached the goal, let's get out of here.
Trying to think. I just thought of something, but then it just immediately left my head. I was like, that's a good idea, and then I was quiet to let everybody else talk, and then that's why I interrupt people, and I apologize for that, but that's because it leaves. It comes and it goes just as fast. Shit. Because I did have an idea. What the fuck?
We're not splitting up.
No. No.
Oh, that'd be funny.
I think Willow wants to figure out if she... we've opened the door and closed the door over here.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
She has questions.
You have found the note that basically outright said the detector detects bad shit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's another reason too. Maddie would be like, yeah, no, let's get out of here.
I think Willow would propose, because I think the floor above this one, we had to go left or right, and we didn't explore right.
Mm-hmm.
To at least finish exploring that floor.
Okay.
Double check if there's anything in this room that we're attached to that might be of interest, and then explore the floor above.
Okay. It seems good. Thoughts, crew?
Yeah, if that is a middle ground that everybody else in the party could agree upon. Because Willow would be clear, she doesn't want to spend another night in this place.
Yeah. I'm down to explore more.
Yeah, we can explore a bit more and call it after that, I think. Yeah. I think not spending another night here is a good meeting point. Of like, at a certain point, we will go back upstairs and we will set up camp, a place that is not here. And we'll probably go out and hug a tree.
And to be clear here, I know, like, it's kind of splitting hairs a bit. Like, me, personally, I'm more than willing to do this dungeon. It sounds really freaking cool. I love dungeons. But, Maddie, on her part, would be more, like,
Yeah.
opposed to it. So yeah.
I fully understand. It's just this is trying to
Yeah.
expedite a conversation that would take 3 hours in game, like in character.
Hmm.
So would Maddie be willing for that compromise for the?
Yeah.
Okay. So I guess that is the plan for the dungeon, Joe.
Mm-hmm.
The next
Actually,
floor and any immediate connectors.
I would even say Maddie would be willing to spend specifically one more night here, just because it is, from what we understand, because we don't know what happened to Aang, is a decent place to rest and camp. But she'd want to leave the next day.
It is defensible, or parts of it are defensible.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
exactly.
Yeah.
I don't know if that helped, but
Yeah, well, that can be if push comes to shove, we spend one more night on the like ground floor that we stayed in the first night.
mm,
Mm-hmm.
Is there any other conversations that should be expedited? I think that's it. The only other thing is introducing Abigail to her spellbook.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Iris, Kira, in agreement?
yeah.
That's fine for me.
Okay. So, all of that conversation happens, and then Paige.
Mm-hmm. After breakfast is finished.
And cleaned up, I imagine.
Mm-hmm. Decided what to do, where to go. Paige will take off her hat, pull out journal, spellbook. It's a little bit of fanfare. And present it to Abigail. She will explain what Willow and Carrot and Mr. Talltail did. And if it's okay with you guys, while everyone is getting ready to continue, Paige can just sit down with Abigail and just step by step walk her through how to use it, how to align yourself with it, and some
Mm-hmm.
breathing exercises that she mentioned before.
Okay. I think this is good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Paige doesn't have jack shit to get ready. Just sit there and look pretty. At least now she's useful.
And Willow will also just kind of like over her shoulder as she is like getting things ready and putting things like rolling up her bedroll and everything. In between Paige explaining things, we'll also explain like why there is just this like weird like full page of notes about something. Sometimes it's helpful to write down your thoughts and conceptualize something. It makes it easier to control. That is a spell that I have used, or Summer has used more accurately.
She is entranced by this. Like the idea of openly preparing and writing down theories about magic is like crazy to her. The witch hunting in the other parts of the world are not nearly as intense as they are in Terramarked, but it's definitely left an impression on her about like how welcome witches are in the grander world.
I would still be cautious about openly writing on it with people that are not aware of what you are, watching and reading over your shoulder, but I have had a luxury of writing and scribbling down recipes for inventions and alchemical formulae that generally means people are disinterested in reading anything I write. But
And
in your free time, when you feel that you're safe to, perhaps it will give you some targeted uses.
She narrows her eyes and then looks up at you and looks between you and Paige and just goes, "And I can keep this?"
No, it's not like you're going to be able to attach the hair back to Inghar's head, so yes.
She looks at it and holds it like it is a Fabergé egg, like this delicate thing, and then she holds it to her chest, like clutching it. "Thank you. I've never gotten anything like this before."
Small hand on top of hers. And we are going to help you learn how to control your magic, so that you don't have to worry so much about being found out. Or hurting the people around you.
She smiles. "Thank you. I don't know what else to say. You've only just met me, but you're all so kind."
You can promise to stick to whatever the regiment is that we come up for you. May not work at the first, but as long as you're trying and putting in the effort, it might work eventually.
She nods. "I can try. I will try."
Squeeze of the hand. That's what we like to hear.
She is comforted by the gesture, and she will clutch the book very close to herself.
She is also presented in this time frame with a mishmash of clothing, but clothing that is more suited to wandering about and adventuring.
Yep, the little fashion show. Little like, okay, here's all the things that could possibly fit you.
I imagine it's not like the most, fashionably cohesive outfit, but it is definitely functional.
Mm-hmm.
And sturdy.
So, yes, it is functional, it is sturdy, and most of all, it is not worn the fuck out and falling apart. So
and she has shoes.
Yeah, and she has some boots to go with it. So she will gladly take all of this clothing too.
Yay.
And honestly, with all of the kindness, she's almost a little overwhelmed by the gesture. Like, so outwardly, like, giving to her. She is just awestruck by the gestures. And so she, like, has to kind of catch her breath a little bit.
Oh. The group is just met with kindness after kindness after kindness.
Yeah, people just throwing things at her, just like, you can have this, and you can have that, and you can have this.
You're safe. Here's a blanket. Here's food. Here's a way to control your magic. Here's some fucking shoes.
Here's friends.
Here's friends.
Even our person eater is mom-shaped.
So, mom is also going to be very quickly met with teenage daughter if she keeps calling her a child.
She did amend it.
Okay. Then this will be a good spot to wrap up if you guys want to arraign yourselves so that you go back upstairs first.
I want to take another room and look at this room first. That could be started.
The big glowy awful room?
Yep.
You can.
I'm also kind of curious about where this goes.
You know who can go in there.
Yeah, it has to be Paige.
It has to be, but no one except Hylas and Maddie know about it.
I would leave it up to Maddie to decide if she info shared
I mean, she'd
the
say,
stuff.
I mean, yeah, she'd say, well, I checked out the area. This is what I found. I can't really fit.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of looks at Paige.
Does math.
Head tilts.
Eyeball it.
She's, like,
Close one eye, stick your tongue out.
Like a square
head
on
to the
page.
Yeah, she tilts her head to the side. She opens her mouth to say, but I know who could. But if Paige gives her a look, she won't. But
I feel like there is no look until after you say it.
yeah, okay. She's like, I bet I know who could fit in there.
Look of just side eye, but also despair. It's probably dirty.
Have magic. That magic
Yeah, as I
cleans
say-
up what's in front of you.
I know.
Don't you have like some kind of magic for that?
Yes, I know, but it's still gross.
Yeah, think of it this way. You can cast your magic freely out in the open in front of all of us. Enjoy it.
Pierre gives you a stern look, like just because everyone else is okay with it doesn't mean I'm okay with it.
She's like, you know what? I want to go down the hole. You know what? I'd rather be there than here right now. I'm in trouble.
So, we start next session with further exploration.
Yes. More explore. More explore.
Around the tunnel.
I'm so glad you're going down the pipe.
I mean, you kind of made it like, yeah, here's the thing only Paige can fit through. I'm like, well, look, Paige has to go through there now.
I'm just so glad.
Mm-hmm.
Part of me is sad that my Gunzi heritage came up with Sonic, but then part of me is also like, knowing Joe, there might be a chance that Sonic damage is a possibility.
If you ever want, I feel like it's totally fair if you ask me, like, hey, what's a good Gonzi heritage to pick, or a good resistance to pick before I pick it.
See, I can't pick it though by the rules. It's rolled on a table.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Every long rest you roll on a table, and whatever it comes up with is what your resistance is until you long rest again.
I gotcha. Okay. Well, I can confirm there are enemies who deal sonic damage in the dungeon.
Hey.
Wonderful.